chairman of the occasion, proprietor of Go University, and my brother, the Bishop of Enugu Diocese, Archdiocese. The Chancellor of the University, my big junior brother, Most Reverend Ignatius Ayao Kaigama, now Archbishop of Abuja, but still Apostolic Administrator of JOS. All other protocols so beautifully exposed by previous talk speakers, duly observed. My dear brothers and sisters, fellow Nigerian citizens, friends, may Almighty God bless you all. When the barrage of wonderful things was pouring across about me, I told the bishop next to me, I wish I can find a place to escape, because it became overwhelming. I thoroughly appreciate the goodwill and the generosity of all those who have spoken so well about me, especially the orator whose job it is to speak well about people. And thank you very much. But I must say, you did your homework well, and the points you raised were true. And I humbly accept them because God is good. My convocation lecture is not going to be very long. For some of you, it will be a relief. For some of you, it will be a disappointment. And I will read it so that I will not get lost in stories. There is a state of general lament about the state of things in our nation today, but especially as regards education at all levels. The public domain is particularly afflicted by gross neglect and mismanagement. And yet, it is so often said that education is crucial, indeed necessary, for the development of any nation. Is it that we do not care about the well-being of our nation today and in the future? It is reported that the former Prime Minister of Britain, Tony Blair, who happens to be also a personal friend of mine, when asked what were the three major priorities of his government, answered, not security, economy, and corruption. His answer instead was education, education, education. And this is in a nation where the education system is one of the best in the world. We need to convince ourselves, therefore, that without good education, there can be no serious development in the nation. It is as if we now find ourselves in a vicious circle. Poor education produces bad government, and bad government cannot deliver good education. How do we break this vicious circle. We see around us that those responsible for good public education seem not to have any personal commitment to providing it, as they take refuge outside the poor public schools to which the children of the poor are abandoned. Are we giving up on government in this regard? How many of us can bypass public schools? Good education is the right of every child, and it is the responsibility of government to make this available. Otherwise, this basic right becomes futile, and its denial is a grave injustice. This is a strong conviction that I wish to proclaim in this convocation lecture. But before I go any further, it is my pleasant duty to sincerely thank the authorities of the Godfrey Okoye University, especially my brother, the Lord Bishop of Enugu, Most Reverend Onaiyekan, for giving me the honor to speak at this important occasion. The mere name Godfrey Okoye brings to my mind very fond memories of the great pastor, missionary, and visionary leader that I had the great honor to have met personally as a younger priest before his untimely death. May his soul rest in perfect peace. The invitation to come here today was extended to me over a year ago by your ebullient, indefatigable BC. At that time, I was Archbishop of Abuja. Since then, some water has passed under the bridge. I am now retiring, and I am seamlessly handing over to His Grace, Most Reverend Ignatius Okoye here present, who, since the 9th of November, has officially become the Archbishop of Abuja. By that very fact, the Pope has promoted me to the status of the Archbishop Emeritus of Abuja. May I be allowed to say that this is a model and a good example for many people out there on how to move from one leadership to the other. I can assure you there will be no tribunals to determine whether or not Kaigama has been properly elected. Point number one, so far I have been an introduction. Point number one, early Christian missions and education. The history of the pioneering work of the Catholic Church in education in Nigeria has been copiously told and documented in many publications, both scientific and popular. Here, I shall draw attention to only a few items relevant to the relationship between the Church and the state in this matter. The early Christian missions in Nigeria went beyond their primary objective of preaching the gospel. They quickly found that education was an important and effective means of evangelization. The earliest missionaries in modern Nigeria, I said modern Nigeria, if we do not mention the early Portuguese in Benin and Warri in the 16th century. The earliest missionaries in modern Nigeria landed in Yoruba land around the beginning of the 19th century, in the 1820s. And they were sent by Anglican, Methodist, and Baptist congregations abroad, mainly Britain and United States. They stressed literacy in order to enable their converts to read the Bible, which was very early translated into the Yoruba language by the famous Bishop Samuel Ajayi Crowther. We must put this in the context of the primary position which Protestants put on the Bible. It was thought you could not preach the gospel until the people were able to read the Bible by themselves, which gave impetus to teach them to read so that they can read the Bible. But they went beyond reading the Bible. The CMS, that is the Anglicans, opened the CMS Grammar School as the first secondary school in Nigeria, well into the middle of the 19th century. This trend was continued also by the Catholic missionaries. The legendary Bishop Shanahan of the Holy Ghost Fathers is well known to have made schools an effective tool for the mission. What he did east of the Niger was also done west of the Niger by the SMA Fathers. This led to a network of few but highly quality schools all across the mission territories from primary to secondary. The teachers' colleges were considered of great importance since they produced not only teachers for the schools but also catechists for the mission stations. This was the era of the heroic Catholic teachers from catechists who bore the heat of the day in remote outstations and villages rarely reached by the white missionary priests, whose exploits, the white missionary priests, whose exploits are well documented in their own archives abroad, and we have not done much to document the exploits of our teacher catechists here in Nigeria. Their story as genuine vanguard evangelizers is yet to be adequately told. Their reward is surely great in heaven, but maybe the Okoye University might mount a program on this topic. Along with the teacher catechists, let them research also on the early church leaders of the communities, the lay faithful. We note the good collaboration between the church and the colonial government in this matter. It was the era of voluntary agencies. And the voluntary agencies were not only churches, but also Muslim groups and any others ready to be involved in providing education for the people. Worthy of note is the involvement of the Ahmadiyya Muslim missions in the running of schools in Yoruba land as far back as early colonial era. This was a time when the Muslims of the North did not want to hear about Western education. There will be I wish I have another opportunity to talk more about this, because the history of the Ahmadiyya people in Nigeria is still ongoing. The system of collaboration with government continued after independence until the Civil War struck and things fell apart. Sometimes this era before independence is referred to as the golden age of mission schools. There is some truth in this perception, since it was indeed good quality education. But we cannot forget that it was really education for a few lucky children. The citation read that I went for my secondary school from Kaba in Kogi State to Aliyede in Benue State because there were only 2 Catholic secondary schools in the whole of northern Nigeria. You either went to St. John's College, Kaduna, or you went to St. Michael's Secondary School, Aliyede. St. John's College, Kaduna was run by the SFA Fathers, and St. Michael's College, Aliyede was run by the Holy Ghost Fathers. I landed in Aliyede because my parish priest was a Holy Ghost Father. But the point I'm trying to make is, if I wanted a Catholic school in those days, I had to go that far. And I spent 3 days getting to school. So when we talk of a golden age, well, I ask myself, was that really golden? Because the majority of my classmates didn't go beyond primary school. Only a few of us managed to get to secondary school. And this becomes clear, for example, when we compare the number of schools in those days with what we have today. In the days of golden age of CIC, Enugu, how many colleges were in Enugu? How many are there today? We have to put things into proper historical perspective. Furthermore, some critics have even queried the claims that these schools produce high moral standards, given how mixed the products have been. But we could also add that we have not yet seen the worst yet. If it is like this in the grey wood, what will happen when the wood is dry? We are now turning out school leavers with no sense of moral direction. We can see the result in the aberrant behavior of many of the younger generation today in school, and we can only imagine with trepidation what will happen when this climb to the top of our fears. Number 2, break of collaboration. The era of collaboration between the church and the state continued for some years after independence until it broke down. Thus began the phenomenon of the famous takeover of schools, which incidentally started right here in Enugu, then the capital of the old East Central State, under a certain gentleman, Dr. Asika, and then spread like wildfire all across the nation. This process coincided with the civil war and military rule, but there are also other factors at play. Among the factors were the following. There was a widespread political ideology to the effect that with independence, education should be fully under the control of government. The church leadership at that time, being largely non-Nigerian, was vulnerable as they were considered foreigners in a new independent nation. They could not fight back or resist the government policy. Providentially, the oil boom started, putting significant financial resources in government coffers, thus permitting a real explosion of schools, and mainly free, and therefore welcomed by the people. This probably explains why even Catholic parents, as well as Catholic teachers, did not put up much resistance to the takeover of schools. Finally, we were in a military dictatorship which ruled by decrees with immediate effect and unchallenged, dispensing with any need to consult the people. We are now, in hindsight, able to see that the takeovers were illegal expropriation of church properties without any compensation. The specious argument that he who pays the piper dictates the tune does not hold water, since the money in the coffers of government belongs to the people, not to the people who control government. There were a few significant exceptions even at that time, and we should not forget those exceptions. Kaduna, Plateau, Kwara, Benue states, where secondary schools remained with their proprietors, although with very, very limited authority. And of recent, there have also been some developments of return of schools by some states. For example, Lagos, and near us here, Anambra. I don't know what is happening in Enugu. That of Anambra, under Governor Peter Obi, has been, in my own opinion, the most systematic and successful. The struggle continues because, as the Latin used to say, res clamat domino. The property continues to shout for its owner until it returns to its owner. Number 3, avoidable decline. The great expansion of public schools during and after the Civil War was a good and valuable project on the part of the government. Was the decline in quality that accompanied this expansion really inevitable? Could we not have combined quantity with quality? This calls for sober reflection. There were some clear factors that led to this decline. Problem of management in the school boards set up by government. Indiscipline among some members of the teaching profession. And here, I tremble, but I must talk about the role of the NUT, Nigerian Union of Teachers, in all these discussions. Sometimes one gets the impression that as far as the NUT is concerned, schools are established to give jobs to teachers, not to teach children. And I will stop there before I become an enemy. Then there is, of course, the general corruption which has plagued our country. Big budgets with little visible effect. I have taken the trouble to do a little research to find out from government sources how much was being spent by the government on one miserable public secondary school near me in Abuja. It runs into billions every year that was allegedly spent on this government secondary school. Give me half of it and I will produce wonders. But they will not give me half of it, not to talk of all of it. All this goes to the roots of the general malaise affecting our nation. Number 4, general explosion of private education. With the general decline in public education, through what at times amounted to criminal neglect, many private schools began to spring up with a variety of motives, ranging from altruistic service to sheer business. Sometimes the motives can also be mixed. As regards those who invest in schools as business, we must admit this is legitimate, provided it is clearly so, and that the business also delivers on education. We are also seeing a variety of quality in the explosion of private schools, depending on the resources available to the proprietor and to those who patronize the institutions. Our city slums, and here I know what's happening in Abuja, our city slums, for example, are full of private schools in every corner, designed for the pocket of the poor, offering at least some education, maybe better than what is offered in the equally poor public schools. Generally, therefore, good education seems to be available in our nation, mainly in private, elitist, expensive schools. The tragic result is that we are losing our brilliant, gifted children who come from poor homes. It is certainly obvious that the Lord God did not distribute his talents and intelligence to people according to the grade level of their parents. And you end up that the children with brilliant heads who come from poor families remain there. And this is a loss on the nation as a whole. This is why it's important to insist on high quality in the public education system to which everybody should have access. Number 5, surviving Catholic schools. In the meantime, the Church stubbornly continues in education with or without public funding. This is because we cannot but give education. Our mandate from the Lord Jesus and the duty from the Lord is to go and teach. When the state broke collaboration, we moved into fee-paying schools, not by choice, but largely by force of circumstances. Our schools in general have been characterized by high quality, thanks to the dedication of those working in our schools. This has made those schools very attractive to many people as it enjoys popular patronage. Ironically, it has become a refuge for even state officials who would not send their kids to the public schools that they themselves run and manage. You all know that the child of the principal of the government school near you is not in the school over which is principal. You send him to a better school somewhere. Talking of Catholic schools, we have the grave dilemma that our schools tend to exclude the poor who cannot pay high fees. It is a constant challenge to combine quality with affordability. There have been efforts to mitigate this sad situation. Just to mention a few, scholarship schemes for the poor. We are dealing with that in Emeritus University, Abuja. Also involving the parish communities to cover the fees of poor children within the parish schools. We may have some lesson to learn from the experience of Catholic parish schools in the 19th century United States of America ethnic parishes. They were very successful in pulling American Catholics out of the poverty trap. We have always claimed that our Catholic schools are not for profit, which is why I have refused to join the Association of Private School Proprietors in Abuja. I said, my school is not a private school. It's not for profit. I cannot join you. We need to be transparent and convincing in this regard. Of course, our schools will not fulfill their objective if badly run or even run at a loss. But we will need to do our best to plow back any surplus incomes into the education apostolate of the church. It is in this sense that we can continue to claim that we are not running private schools for profit, even if our schools appear buoyant. There is a challenge here for religious institutes. And here I tread on very slippery ground. Some of these religious institutes are now going into establishing high-profile schools, especially in the cities, targeting the elite. They should either make the schools truly non-profit or be prepared to face the consequence of running a school business, including eventually paying government taxes and levies. I heard the last lecture here was on taxes. It would be interesting to hear what they say about our schools. There is another issue of great concern. The gradual trend of the religious institutes becoming reluctant to work in collaboration with the dioceses in the promotion of Catholic education is a dangerous wind, which, in my opinion, will not be in the long-term interest of both parties. There is need for a clear witness of communion within the body of Christ, while respecting the provisions of the now well-known document, Mutuae Relationes. Those who are concerned have heard me and they understand what I'm saying. If you don't understand, right, Mutuae Relationes, don't worry, it doesn't concern you. Number 6, the way forward. Given the importance of education for the life of any nation, we cannot resign ourselves to the present situation in which only the few rich can access good education. We must find a way to expand access to good quality education so that no one is left behind. While we continue to do better what we are now doing well in our Catholic schools, I am making a strong case for a return to the system of collaboration between the government and non-government agencies who are interested in providing public education at public expense. Public education at public expense. Apart from a few exceptions, most of the public schools we have today are poorly managed with poor results. Government will do well to open up space for others to get involved in this important area of our national life. This should be in the spirit of the much talked about public-private partnership. We should consider returning to the system of voluntary agencies as partners with government for the running of public schools. Such agencies are not only religious groups, but both Christian and Muslim, but also civil society organizations, communities, and even individuals. We can draw up mutually acceptable guidelines for such collaboration so as to avoid abuses. We have good examples of what we are proposing now elsewhere. Even in the so-called developed nations that we often try to imitate, they have a system that permits public funds to be used by non-government entities in providing education for the poor. We see this in Europe and America even today. There are also examples in some African countries, and I think of Ghana and Kenya, where the colonial era collaboration was maintained since after independence, with a positive outcome for all concerned. Is it for nothing that many Nigerians who can afford it are sending their children to Ghana for education? It is the responsibility of the state to provide good education, quality education to all her children. The involvement of non-government schools in this enterprise should be seen as assistance to government and as providing variety for choice for parents. The right of parents to a school of their own choice for their children will be meaningless if there is no choice in the public school system. The involvement of voluntary agencies will provide such choice. And this choice, for example, could be based on religion or on any other criteria. It is pertinent to remark here that it is the right of every child to access state funding for his or her education, not only when they are in public schools, where government disburses heavy sums, but also when they are in whatever school of choice of their parents. This is valid even for children in expensive elite schools. The fact that a child finds himself or herself in a so-called private school does not mean that this right should be abrogated. Government, therefore, should not be allowed to continue to abdicate its responsibility in this regard. It is about time that proprietors of non-government schools joined hands to fight for the rights of the children in their schools. And this can go a long way to reduce the cost of private school education. All I'm saying here about collaboration with governments in the funding of non-government institutions is valid for all education institutions, not only primary and secondary, but also tertiary institutions. There's no reason why Go University should not receive funding from the government like other universities. We are not training children to be sent to the planet Mars. They are going to be sent to the Nigerian nation, and they are working for Nigeria, and the government has succeeded to abdicate its responsibility in this regard. And we have not fought enough to tell them it is your duty. Our money is in your hands. You are the one keeping our money. Give it to us. That's all we are saying. Number 7, we are getting towards the end. Some brief remarks on tertiary institutions. The end of government monopoly over university education in Nigeria was a very good move. We can see already what a great positive impact it has made in our nation. If it had not happened, there would have been no Go Uni. If only government, state and federal can start university, that's what we were told. I remember fighting a battle with the then NUC elected secretary, Jibril Aminu. All we're asking for is to recognize the degrees that we're producing in our seminaries in affiliation with our parent universities in Rome. And he sent back a letter to us that only institutions that belong to the government, federal or state, is allowed to run university courses. And I wrote back to him and told him that I beg to differ. You can decide not to recognize our degree, but you cannot stop us from running degree courses. That was when I was rector in Ibadan. I remember meeting Jibril Aminu many years later. He was an old senator in Abuja. And I said, do you remember the letters I exchanged? He said, oh, I will never forget your letter. I said, what are you doing about it? We are still working. Now, like I said, it is wonderful that we are now opening the gates for private universities. But this is not enough. Private universities need more freedom and space to flourish. Supervision from one office in Abuja is perhaps necessary to prevent gross abuses, but strict control stifles initiative and creativity. In this regard, it is my strong conviction that the NUC, the National Universities Commission, should limit itself to public universities for which it was originally established. When the NUC was established, there was no Go University, there was no Veritas, there was no Covenant. And to pretend that there's no difference between schools funded by the government and schools scrambling for money to survive is simply to close your eyes to reality. Let NUC limit itself to public universities and do whatever they can and like with it, like they have done for so long. But another agency, even with government, but with the full participation of the stakeholders, should be set up to supervise and support private universities in a peer review spirit. And this suggestion is not something unheard of. It is happening outside. I think our chairman of council might be able to help us here with ideas. I asked him yesterday, do you have NUC in the United States? He didn't know if there was any, which means there was none. It is now quite obvious that the public universities are not models of excellence. One can even say that the NUC itself really has no moral credentials to claim to direct every university in Nigeria. If we are to judge from how well they have been running the government's heavily funded universities under their control. Let every university grow at its own pace and along its own academic route. And I know what I'm talking about because I've spent much of my last 15 years in Abuja fighting NUC rules over Veritas. So far, I have not succeeded, but my successor, an able fighter, his tribe are well known to be good fighters, will continue the battle, and I wish you luck. The crucial area of finance needs to be thoroughly considered. Some of the demands of the NUC are forcing unnecessary, huge financial burden on private universities. I say unnecessary, on private universities. Translating, obviously, to higher fees for students, and then they turn around and say, we are overcharging students. How can you run a university without high fees if government does not give you anything? The Yoruba, we are very good. We are very good proverb. If the soup is sweet, my mother, all apologies to you. If the soup is sweet, there's money behind it. Every university should be allowed to manage its resources as best it can. Then, watch the result at the end of the day, not before. By their proofs, we shall know them. Not by the number of jumbo salaried professors of the beauty of the campus. Number 8, last number. Finally, we must say a few words about the Catholic University, a subject about which I'm extremely passionate. The Catholic Church has a record second to none in this regard. We only need to look at the oldest universities of Europe, all of which started as church institutions. Examples include Bologna, Padua, Paris, Oxford, Naples, name it. It is this record of excellent Catholic tradition in universities that we, the Catholic Church in Nigeria, wants to make available to our university environment here in Nigeria. Therefore, there is no sense and no justification to reject our original name, Kuna, Catholic University of Nigeria, Abuja. We were prohibited to use that. They will not accept or recognize us if we insist that we are Catholic University of Abuja. Talk of persecution. Everywhere in the world, there are Catholic universities with that name, but not in Nigeria. We shall continue to preserve our mission and vision of the Catholic University with or without that name. I'm happy to note this morning that Go University, Okoye, also put in small letters under it, Catholic University of Enugu Diocese. The time should come, yes, the time should come when all the Catholic universities in Nigeria can boldly call themselves Catholic University of Enugu, Abuja, wherever, so that it's clear what we are doing. We are not out simply to open university because others are doing it. We have a reason for opening a university, to bring this excellent record of Catholic university tradition as what we offer to our nation to enjoy. It is good that there are many projects of Catholic universities in Nigeria. Many are in the making, others are still being planned. There is need for greater coordination and cooperation. Proliferation must not sacrifice quality for quantity. Church norms prescribe that there be national guidelines for the country, decreed by the National Bishops' Conference. Our conference, the CBCN, has already done this. We have a church, we have a guidelines for Catholic universities in Nigeria, approved by the Holy See, that is presently in force. Furthermore, every Catholic university has to be guided by the two basic documents of the church. And these are Cordelia, issued by Pope John Paul II, regulating all tertiary institutions that claim to be called Catholic. You are not a Catholic university simply because your biggest donor is a knight of the church. You are a Catholic university if your institution follows those guidelines meant for Catholic education, Catholic universities in excorded ecclesia. Again, if you don't know what's the excorded ecclesia, don't worry, it doesn't concern you. The excorded ecclesia was issued by Pope St. John Paul II, regulating all tertiary institutions claiming to be Catholic. Then there was what was called Sapientia Christiana of the same John Paul II, first published in 1979 and recently revised and replaced in 2017 by Pope Francis with Veritatis Gaudium. And this last document deals with universities and faculties that grant pontifical degrees specially recognized by the Holy See. All All this is to facilitate coordination and cooperation, both on local and at global levels. I believe it is now time and overdue to have a National Catholic University Committee to facilitate all the above. This is more than the Education Commission of the CDCN can squeeze among its many concerns as it is now trying to do. We are at present dispersing our energies into many directions instead of working towards a few strong bastions of knowledge. We must start with a stable meeting of the authorities of the already existing Catholic universities in Nigeria to compare notes and exchange ideas on common concerns. My feeble attempt to call such a meeting some years ago did not materialize. I believe the authorities of Emeritus University should take the initiative in this matter. Again, I'm happy that my successor is here. As Archbishop of Abuja, among the loads he will take off me is that of Chancellor of Emeritus University. Even if you give it back to me, I won't take it. We have to have a job to do. We need to be very serious about Faculty of Theology in every Catholic university. Furthermore, we need at least a few pontifical faculties too. By the way, not every Catholic university is a pontifical university. Pontifical universities are very few. Catholic universities are like water all over the world. We need in Nigeria not only Catholic universities, but also some pontifical faculties. Right now in Nigeria, there's only one pontifical faculty, which is in Catholic Institute of West Africa. It's the only pontifical faculty recognized by the Holy See. And by the way, despite its prestige, it is still being handled like the proverbial Igbo goat of the village that nobody feeds. I say Igbo goat because it's only Igbo land I hear that proverb. If we have not only Catholic universities, but pontifical universities, this will enrich the academic arena of Nigeria and put the name of Nigeria squarely among the Catholic universities and the pontifical faculties of the world. As an aside, it is noteworthy that while there are some faculties of Islamic studies and law, even in our public universities, in some of the northern universities, there's nothing similar for the Christian faith in any government university in Nigeria. All that we have are all these departments of religious studies that are like a jack of all religions, a master of none. Our Catholic universities should be expected to make up for this great lacuna. I'm happy that you are still listening to me, and I have finished my message, so let me conclude. There is a disturbing wind of pessimism blowing across our nation in our days. And anybody who keeps singing in government houses, things are getting better, they know they are telling lies. Things are not getting better. There's a disturbing wind of pessimism blowing across our nation in our days, almost bordering on generalized despair. This is not good for any nation. Long delayed and unfulfilled hopes are leading many to give up on the viability of the project called Nigeria. I'm happy that your wonderful VC has declared publicly that Nigeria is working in Go University. The proposal that we go our separate ways seems to me a gamble that may not be as simple as it appears. Building together a greater nation comes at a great cost, no doubt, which we must all be ready to pay. But I am quite convinced that those costs, high though they may be, are much less than what it will take for us to disintegrate.